Okay, here we are at Columbia Cemetery. This is the southwest entrance right here. We are with Boulder's favorite canine tour guide, Ramblin Rosie. Ramblin Rosie! Ramblin Rosie. She's acting somber because we're at a cemetery, so just kidding. So there's welcome to Columbia Cemetery. So dogs are allowed on leash. They have to stay on leash. You have to pick up their waist, and this is open dawn till dusk. So we're gonna go inside and we're gonna see some famous graves and talk about just a couple of them. Just a little bit of history. Nothing too expansive today. All right, Rosie, you ready? Okay, so let's open this big, spooky gate and go into the cemetery. Okay, so welcome to Discover Boulder Tours. We're going to discover Columbia Cemetery today. It is first week of May. It's a little overcast today. Yesterday was gorgeous. It's a little overcast today. The first cemetery was located at a place called Valmont Butte. Valmont Butte is just a few miles east of here, and it was the cemetery until 1867. In 1867, then Boulder created its first city cemetery, and it was located at what is today Mesa Drive and 20th Street. It was called Death on Stilts. The ground was really rocky. It wasn't easy to dig graves. Sylvia Pedham, amazing Boulder historian, the Boulder historian, has said in a newspaper article I read that the victim of the first Boulder lynching, his body is still buried at the first Boulder Cemetery near Sunset Hill. If you want to know more about Boulder's one and only lynching, what caused it, who it was, and the documented hauntings that occurred after his death that date back to 1874, you got to take my tour and learn all about that. So okay, so we're gonna keep moving here. So that was between 1867 and 69. Then in 69, the Masonic Columbia Lodge number 14 decided they wanted a better spot for a cemetery. They purchased 10.5 acres on the south side of Boulder Creek from an early pioneer named Marinus G. Smith. Marine Street is named after Marinus G. Smith. He owned the land where the cemetery is now. And that was 69. And it was called Columbia Cemetery after Columbia Lodge. Kurt Ward, Colorado, is an old mining district. It used to be called Columbia. But that's how Columbia got its name. So that is the cemetery where we are now. They opened for business on November of 1870. All right, I think we found him. We weren't too far off. As I'm looking for Tom Horn, I'm seeing lots of familiar names and lots of people I want to talk about. But this is the guy we're going to talk about right now. Tom Horn. He was, as we know, a legendary outlaw, gunslinger, some say assassin. He liked to call himself an assassin. But as a teenager, early teenager, like 14 years old, he became an Indian scout. He became a cowboy. He was in charge of herding cattle in Arizona, just as a really young kid. He was a tracker. Tom Horn is credited with tracking Geronimo, finding him and convincing him to surrender to authorities. He was a deputy sheriff in Arizona. That was 1887. And then in 1890, he came up to Denver to become a Pinkerton detective. Being a detective was too tame for him. He liked adventure. And so he decided to take a different path. Tom Horn once said, "Killing is my specialty." He was also nicknamed the $500 man because he'd make $500 for every man he killed. In 1902, he was arrested for the killing of a 14-year-old kid named Willie Nickel. This was in southern Wyoming. Willie Nickel was the son of a man named Kells Nickel, and Kells Nichols was not liked by big cattle ranchers because Kells Nickel owned a big herd of sheep, like thousands, and they were eating up the precious prairie land that the cattle ranchers wanted. And Tom Horn was working for a company called the Swan Land and Cattle Company. Tom Horn said he wasn't involved in the killing of Willie Nickel at all, and he pleaded his innocence till his dying breath. But unfortunately, in November of 1903, he was executed by hanging in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So he has a fascinating story. If you'd like to watch a fantastic movie about him, the amazing Steve McQueen played Tom Horn in the 1980 movie Tom Horn. It would be a fun way to spend your afternoon to watching that and then come visit Tom Horn's grave. So why is he buried here? So he's buried here because of this guy right here. Tom Horn's brother, Charles Horn, was a resident here, and he had his brother's body interred here. So it was the largest funeral procession in Boulder history. When he was buried here, Tom Horn was a legendary Western celebrity. He was just a national celebrity at the time. And so the service was at the Baptist Church down in Boulder, and then 2,500 people who would have come up from Boulder, walked up that hill right there. We're looking towards the north right now. Would have walked up the hill and then would have buried Tom Horn right here. There's many people who wanted to display his body for profit, take casts of his face, all kinds of things, but his brother Charles Horn said no. So that's why Tom Horn is buried in Boulder Cemetery. And I think it's so fantastic that we have such a celebrity outlaw within our midst. Rosie likes the dandelions. All this grave marker says is Union soldiers. There's nothing on the other side. Pretty interesting. Be interesting to know what the story is behind that one. Just want to make sure I get this beautiful tree on video. It is absolutely gorgeous, and the blossoms are out. It's just like this beautiful shape and color. It's just beautiful. Boulder is just gorgeous today. Now this grave is pretty cool. This looks like a Mary A. Heyman, born Plymouth, England, December 25th, Christmas Day, 1819, died April 22nd, 1901. The inscription at the bottom says, "Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord." Plymouth, England, 1819. Holy smokes. Okay, so this is the next person we're gonna talk about here. Jane Doe, Dorothy Gay Howard. Very tragic story, but thanks to Sylvia Pedham and the Boulder Sheriff's Department, it had a happy ending. So we're gonna go to the grave and just hear that story. So this is a tragic story here at Columbia Cemetery. There There's tragic stories in every cemetery, and then there's good stories, but this one touched the hearts of a lot of people here in Boulder. In April of 1954, two college freshmen from CU Boulder, they saw what they thought was a mannequin on the road 9 miles up the canyon near Boulder Falls. They pulled over. They discovered it was a human body of a woman, and she had been bludgeoned to death. They contacted the sheriff. The sheriff's name was Arthur Everson. He did determine that she had been murdered, and there was an investigation. They were never able to find out who this Jane Doe was, and all leads just ended up at nowhere. So she was going to be buried in the Potter's section, but a group of residents decided to come up with the $95 to bury her proper spot. So the small, this one right here was the marker that sat here for 50 years, and with no leads on who this Jane Doe was. Then something miraculous happened. In 2004, Boulder author and historian Sylvia Pedham, she decided to open up an investigation to find out who this Jane Doe was. And along with help of the Boulder Sheriff's Department, they were able to solve this mystery of who Jane Doe was. A woman named Michelle Marie Fowler, she was the grandniece of a woman named Dorothy Gay Howard, and she had been doing her own investigation to find the whereabouts of her great aunt who had disappeared in 1954. So in 2004, there was DNA. You could trace DNA. There was a website, a database for Doe victims, unidentified people who were lost to family members. You could go to the database. So Fowler did her investigation. The two kind of came together. The two entities, Sylvia Pedham, the Boulder Sheriff's Department, and Fowler. Fowler determined that the information about Jane Doe in Boulder clearly matched the information she had about her great aunt, who was named Dorothy Gay Howard. Dorothy Gay Howard had a living sister, and they did a DNA sample, and it was a perfect match. So between these two, it was determined that Jane Doe from 54 was actually Dorothy Gay Howard. The story came together, and a new gravestone was placed here in 2008, thanks to Boulder Sheriff's Department, Sylvia Pedham, and the family of Dorothy Gay Howard. The family decided to leave her remains here. Tragic story turned into a beautiful one, and she is finally at rest. That's just very pretty. Very serene, almost looks like a postcard. Okay, this is the last grave I'm going to visit today to hear the tale of William Sale. And you'll need to take my tour because he built a hotel called the Sale Hotel in 1876. He knew a famous outlaw named Jesse James. He wasn't friends with him. He met him just briefly. Jesse James stayed in room number 13 at the hotel. To hear the whole story, the tale of William Sale, you have to take my tour and see where the hotel was and hear the story of Jesse James almost getting caught by an investigator who was looking for him. He was on the run from a bank robbery. Just wanted to mention that when you come in this southwest gate right there, this right here is called Babyland. Babyland is where infants have been interred.